Namaste, friends. Veronique and Mr. Bowery here with our June tutorial. So for this month, we are going to be looking at backbending. So backbending has really great benefits of opening up through the heart space, releasing any shoulder tension, and it's a really great way to metaphorically open ourselves up to our deepest heart's desires. And so I'll demo a few different options for backbending, depending on any injuries that you're working with or just your natural flexibility. So if you don't have blocks at home, you could also use maybe a book, something about this height. And as always, tuning into how the pose feels in your body. So certainly if anything causes any pinching or any sharp pain, please back off. It's an indication from the body to say that the pose isn't working for you. And if you're not sure, always feel free to ask me in the comments, or if you are in Vero Beach, you can feel free to pull me over in class and we can modify the shape together. Or we can work together online as well if you are somewhere other than Vero Beach. So the first version that I'll demo is a supported bridge. This is one of my favorite restorative poses. The way that we'll set up is you'll kindly guide your dog to be out of the way. I just came home, so he's very excited to see me, as you can see. So we'll shift forward on the mat. We want to have a little bit of space. The first thing to do is to set up our base. So we want our feet to be hips width. And if you have anything in your hair, we want to move that out of the way so that the natural curvature of the neck can be nice and even. So you'll slide the heels towards your sits bones, and maybe you can tickle your heels with your fingertips. If not, that's okay. We're just trying to find close to that if possible. And then we want to line the thighs to be in alignment. So you could even have one block in between your thighs, just encouraging for the quadriceps to be engaged and the femurs to be in alignment. And then you'll take your second block, you'll inhale to lift the hips up, and we're sliding the block underneath the sacrum. So we're finding that bony part that's in between the lumbar spine and the glutes. And you could linger here with the block on the lowest setting. Maybe you cactus the arms, allowing the shoulder blades to come underneath you. And you could have cactus arms, maybe one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. I quite like cactus arms because it allows for that opening of the shoulders. Maybe you have the arms out to a T, or maybe 45 degrees, something like this. So you allow for that nice external rotation of the shoulders. So you could linger here. If you're feeling like you have more space, an option is to lift the hips up, and maybe you bring the block to the second setting so that you're just allowing over time to build that flexibility in a safe and supported way, so that you're able to find that support under the hips. You're engaging, just gently squeezing the block that's in between the thighs. And then if you're feeling quite open, some of you might feel like you could raise the block to the highest setting. So that's a pretty deep back bend. If you arrive there and the body says no, trust that the body knows that that's too high, and then you can always descend the block to a lower setting. So this is quite intense. If it just feels like a deep stretch, maybe you linger here for 3 to 5 breaths, just engaging the inner thighs towards one another, both soles of the feet are grounded evenly to the earth, and you could be here. So we can transition into bridge pose without the blocks from here. So if you want to take a break, certainly feel free to lower your hips, take a moment in stillness. Just for the sake of timing, I'll transition directly into bridge, but feel free to pause and take rest now if you need it. We'll interlace the fingers once you're ready underneath the back, and then we'll wriggle the shoulders underneath one another so that we're sending the heart to, don't look to the side when you're doing this. I'm just doing that to show you. We want the head to be in neutral, and we're lifting the hips quite high. So we're allowing for that natural arching in the spine, and then we're actively squeezing the inner thighs towards one another. And then as you exhale, we'll lower down. Take a moment here, press the lower back into the earth, take a moment. I'll show one other variation of bridge pose, and then I'll demo wheel pose. So we'll have a few ways to play. Make sure you're not too close to the wall. So for the second bridge pose, you'll actually take a hold of the outside edges of your mat. It's like you're trying to pull the mat apart, like you're kind of doing this action with the mat in between your hands. Make sure that your feet are still nice and close to you. And then as you inhale, lift your hips up. Once again, you'll wriggle your shoulders underneath you, and then you'll try to pull the mat apart, and that'll actually send your hips higher so that we're grounding down evenly through all four corners of the feet, and we're actively reaching the hips up in space. So we're taking 3 to 5 breaths in each version, and then exhale to slowly lower down. Take a moment in stillness in between. So the third and final back bend I'll demonstrate is our full wheel. So full wheel, like all back bends, the strength is actually from the legs. So we really want to engage the quadriceps. We're actively pushing the earth away with the soles of our feet. And so that we're alleviating any pressure in the wrists and the shoulders in particular. One of the misconceptions of back bends is needing to have a lot of upper body strength, but the more that you trust that the legs are doing the work and you're allowing for that opening in the heart space, then the more accessible the full wheel will become in your practice. So the first version I'll demonstrate, if this is a new pose to you, this is a really nice way to introduce it in a more supportive way, for particularly if you have any tightness in the shoulders. This makes it a lot more accessible. We're bringing the blocks so that they're, excuse me, Barry, can you sit? Can you sit? Can you sit? Oh boy. So we'll bring the blocks so they're at a diagonal. So they're almost like making slides up the wall. And you want them to be shoulders width. So you'll come to lay down so that your head is in between the blocks. So making sure that you have enough space here. And then we're bringing the fingers so that they're pointing towards your shoulders. So there's a few ways here. So getting your feet set up once again. It might be that the flexibility of your wrists and your shoulders makes this very challenging. So you could just linger here, pressing your palms into the blocks the best that you can. If you feel quite stable here, if you're able to plant your palms fully on the blocks at this diagonal, you'll inhale to lift the hips up. So the key to doing anything new is to move slowly with control, linking your breath, nice and slow and steady breath, and that will help calm the nervous system. We'll inhale to lift the hips up. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to lift up and come to the crown of the head. So the way that that will look is that you'll inhale to lift up and then come to just the crown of the head. So the elbows are bent, and then you're guiding the elbows towards one another. From this space, then you'll lengthen through the arms. So we're starting to shine the heart towards the wall. So we're starting to build some opening in the shoulders, and then we're trying to lengthen through the legs. So we're finding a space where we can start to shine the heart towards the wall, and we're able to get a little bit more accessibility by bringing the ground a little bit closer to you with the use of the blocks. After 3 to 5 breaths, you'll tuck the chin to the chest and slowly lower down with control so that we're protecting through the neck and the head. Take a moment in stillness here. So if that went very well, I'll demo just the last back bend where we won't use the blocks at all. We'll move the blocks to the side. And something to remember is we're all, working with different lengths of our arms and our legs, different flexibility, different natural strength. If you're in some variation of this pose, you are doing the work. If you're feeling the stretch, if you feel like you're building the strength, then that's exactly where you need to be. And then I'm just offering different channels towards that shape so that if you feel like you want to go further, you can, but as always, it's in no way a requirement to feel like you're doing the full version of the pose. So even any variation of this, you're still getting the same benefits of the posture. So full wheel, coming to lay down on your back. Maybe you just watch first and then you try it on your own. So we set up in the same way like we did for bridge, tickling the heels with the fingers, and then we're planting the palms alongside the ears directly on the ground. We're hugging the elbows towards one another, and we're already engaging through the legs. You can come up in the same way that you did with the blocks. As you inhale, lift the hips up and bring the crown of the head to the ground first. So this is a great chance to get reorganized in your arms, and then you can push the ground away, lengthening through the arms and the legs so that the heart can open up. After a few breaths here, you'll tuck the chin into the chest, and then you'll slowly lower down with control. One of my favorite counter stretches for the back bends is to hug the knees into the chest and rock it out side to side. This provides for a really nice massage through the lower back, the sacrum. We'll inhale to come back through center and release. So, hope you enjoyed our month's tutorial of back bending. Feel free to comment below with anything that you noticed as you practice this at home, and I appreciate you watching. Hope this was helpful. Namaste.